We're live with the Transform Your Relationships show. I'm Laura Rubinstein here with the awesome and fabulous Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Hi, Rhoberta.
Hello, Laura. We haven't talked for a while, so this is exciting. And we're going to talk about something that's so basic to our relationship with ourselves and with other humans.
And that's attachment theory. And not a lot of people, lay people, I would say, really talk about it. I think we might sense it. I'm looking forward to exploring it. So, should we dive right in and talk about what is attachment theory?
Yes, strangely enough, we're born with perfectly functioning nerves and an underdeveloped brain. So sometimes we don't realize that we took in so much before we ever had language, before our brain was developed with rational linear thought. We just don't realize it. And our attachment style, according to research, is pretty much set by the time we're 24 months old. And we
Wow.
don't know any words aside from mama and dada. So this is something that we learn through our senses, we learn through our nervous system, and it tells us whether we're worthy, wanted, and welcome. And on my Save Your Sanity podcast, I did a whole episode on worthy, wanted, and welcome
Wow.
because it really does speak about our attachment style.
Okay, so it tells us how we kind of set ourselves up. Like, how does it get formed so early? I don't understand. Just
Yeah.
because our nerves are there?
Yes, it's because our nerves are completely developed when we're born. And so those giants that brought you home from the hospital, they're the only thing that you know who's going to define who you are and whether you survive. So you are learning from those giants every moment. So think about this. When they held you, did they hold you out and go, I don't know what to do with this thing? Or did they comfortably have you in the crook of their arm naturally in a relaxed fashion? Did they hold you out in front of them on their knees and look into your eyes and make eye contact? Or were they like, okay, well, I can just have this baby here and I can continue doing what I'm doing, but this is okay. So these are the kinds of things that give a baby the message of whether they're worthy, wanted, and welcome. Like, do I look at the child? Do I have that eye contact? When babies start to be able to look you right in the eye and they want you, they try to bring your eyes back to them. They do things like that to say, I want to survive and I need your attention. And sometimes we're born into a family where we're the first child, so we may get a little more attention. Sometimes we can be the first child and born into a family that didn't want children. We can be the last child of 10. There's going to be messages that are coming to us through our senses, through our skin, what we hear, smell, taste, touch, see. And that's what's giving us the message because we don't have any language. So there are 4 attachment styles, 2 groups with 4 in them. And the 2 groups are secure attachment, which is just as it sounds, it's desirable, is, oh, everything's good. And then there are insecure attachment styles. And in insecure attachment styles, there are 3 categories. So if we have a secure attachment style, it's home was good, we were wanted, we felt seen, we felt heard, we didn't feel neglected, we didn't feel invisible. It was good. Like I wanted to go home, I felt safe there, everything was good. Not that as a baby you want to go home, but that you felt good at home. But if you
Was
had
your
it,
home, this was happy, it was, you were wanted
yeah,
and welcome, right? Or,
exactly. But then if you had an insecure attachment style, there are 3. One of them is the anxious attachment style. So the baby is, where are they? What are they doing? Do they hear me? Do they come when I cry? Do they hate it when I cry? Have I given up? Am I just how do I get them to like me? How do I get them to notice me? What do I have to do? And the baby tries all kinds of things, and the toddler tries all kinds of things, and the parents are too busy, or the child is trying to get their attention. So it's very anxious attachment. Is there an attachment? I need to make sure. So it leads to dependency, codependency. And of course, as babies, we already are dependent. So we can quickly exacerbate that.
Right.
And then the second kind is avoidant. Like, I've given up. I don't care whether you come or not. I don't like you. I won't look at you. And if you go to pick me up, I'll arch my back and make it really difficult for you to pick me up because I know I'm not safe with you. And then the third kind is what we call disorganized attachment, which is simply a combination of anxious and avoidant, which means I want you, I want you, I want you. No, go away. I want you, I want you. No, you're unsafe. You give me something, I don't want it. But when I don't have it, I want it. And it's very confusing. So you can begin to see just by those little pieces of understanding that will have a huge impact on how you feel you fit into the world and what you are looking for in relationships.
So when you have one of these insecure attachments, is that something you learned, or is it a response to, or a combination?
Well, you learned it because that was the message you received by the home in which you were planted. If they never have time for me, or if I always feel like I live in an orphanage, I have a clean diaper and I have a prop bottle, and somebody says, well, what do you expect? Okay, I'm likely to have an avoidant attachment style because I've given up. All I get is a clean diaper and a bottle, but there's no human interaction. And you know what happened to babies in the 40s and 50s in orphanages? They did all those studies, and the babies they were clean, they were fed, the bottles were propped, they weren't held, they didn't have that human touch. And that's where we really learned about the principle of marasmus, which is the babies would slowly, because they were very overcrowded orphanages after the war, the babies would start dying. They'd curl up in a fetal position and die from lack of touch, from lack of human interaction. And so that's very extreme. But some part of us dies from lack of human interaction too, right? We're looking for something and nobody wants to give it to us. And so we internalize, because of our underdeveloped brain, we internalize it must be our fault. There must be something wrong with us. And if there wasn't something wrong with us, they'd like me. If there wasn't something wrong with me, they'd spend time with me. And that's the way the underdeveloped brain works. And not until we're somewhere between 5 and 7 do we get the parietal and prefrontal lobe development that gets us into a place that's more rational and linear, and understanding that we don't cause everything. There are things happening out there. People are behaving poorly because people behave poorly, not because I'm not worthy.
It's not all about me now, right?
Well, it's all about me when I'm little.
Right.
Because it has to be, because I have to survive.
Right.
Right.
It seems like sometimes that doesn't go away.
Well, it doesn't, because what if that never changes in your life?
Right.
What if you really aren't wanted? What if, like I was born to 2 hijackal parents. My mother made it very clear that she didn't want children. She made it clear in her behavior, but she made it clear with her words. So what messages do you get? Well, I was just fortunate. I had godparents who really, really, really wanted me. So I had somebody who gave me everything I needed in that regard. But the parents didn't, right? They didn't have the capacity because they were unhappy. They were miserable. They were insecurely attached. They didn't know what to do. So how are they going to do something better for me, right? Now, of course, we can learn to do something better for our children than what we got, and hopefully we will. But that requires us to do our work and to recognize that I might have got a little short shift in the parenting department, but I can do a better job, you know? I mean, I have securely attached children, and it's important to have that. They don't wonder if they're good enough. They don't wonder if they're wanted. They never wondered any of that, right? And so that's the message. You're absolutely right. Until we recognize this, we might carry it for a long time, and we might see the implications in our primary relationships. We may be like totally fear of rejection and not realize what a deep-seated feeling that is from having parental units who were too busy or too tired or lacked emotional capacity to actually give us a secure attachment.
How do we identify it in somebody else if they're insecurely attached?
Well, they're always checking. An extreme would be the person who's always sending a text. Where are you? When will you be home? When are you coming? Why are you late? Don't you love me? Do you still love me?
Mm.
What did you mean by that? Did you mean to hurt me? Because they're reading into it rejection, 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 and they're checking all the time. So that would be somebody who's insecurely attached in an anxious way. Like, affirm me, affirm me, affirm me. And just because you told me you loved me yesterday, I don't believe it this morning. Like, you got to tell me again or show me again. And that will go on and on and on until they can actually, usually it takes some work, some work with a professional to actually believe that my life before is not the same as my life now. That I have no evidence in reality that my partner doesn't love me. And I really don't need to keep checking, because I can start to remind myself they do. They do. They show me all the time. They tell me all the time. Every time I check, they remind me that, yes, it's true. And so we have to jump into the current reality instead of living from the past reality.
And they're still here. They're still showing up. They're not disappearing. That's really great.
But they could get very tired of your neediness.
Mm. So it
Right.
shows up as neediness and it can be changed, is kind of the two
Yes.
takeaways. Hmm.
Yeah. We can definitely change our attachment style. We won't change the one we had, but we will evolve it into what is actually happening and who am I now as an adult, and what is the situation in reality. Are people actually rejecting me? Maybe I am living from that fear of rejection. And
Yeah.
so I read the wrong things into their words. They say, I'm sorry, I'm busy on Friday. And an insecurely attached person who's anxious reads, they don't want to see me. They really don't want to see me at all. They just, no, they said they're busy on Friday. But the old understanding is, don't they want to see me? Is that their polite way of brushing me off? They'll go in that direction. And when we recognize that in ourselves, we can get help to change that.
Yeah. As long as we're willing to see that it's our interpretation and we're willing to see the awareness that we're reacting in a way that feels natural and normal to us, but is not founded in actual shared realities.
Yeah. I mean, anxious attachment is really, really hard on a partner who is uh, securely attached. And they'll be the ones who will give you that long-term sense of, no, it's good. We're together. It's great. I love you. But if we get with a hijackal, a person who is disorganized attachment, they get their power from keeping you guessing. I want you, I don't want you, I see you, I don't care about you, and so
Does
that can get really messy.
and does the hijackal also have this insecure attachment or not necessarily?
Most hijackals are disorganized, so they have the insecure attachments of both anxious and avoidant. So they're always playing the game, come closer, go away. Right? So very confusing to be with them.
Now, there can be this insecure attachment without being a hijackal, right?
Yes,
And what
absolutely.
if two people who are insecure come together? Is that kind of likely to happen?
It can, because then you get that we have to be together all the time phenomenon. Like, I don't know who I am when I'm away from you. I need you, need you, need you. We need to do everything together. And that will suit some people. It will suit some people. They will bond and they will be happy. They have each other. They feel good about it. They meet each other's needs in that level. Nothing wrong. Absolutely fine. They've found their bond, so important. But if somebody who is particularly insecurely attached meets somebody who's healthy, they will reassure them. I mean, not so much healthy as in this conversation, securely attached. They will meet their needs. They don't mind reminding them. They feel like, oh, come on, I love you. It's good. But after a while, they start to get annoyed. Like, I cannot fill this cup all the time. Get with the program, grow up, become an adult. I haven't gone anywhere. I tell you all the time, what do I need to do to have you believe I love you? Because this is getting boring, right? And that can have an impact on a relationship.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like when you have that insecure attachment, even if you're not a hijackal, even if you're with another insecure, it still can come out in other ways that are not healthy. Putting expectations on another person or withdrawing for no reason, and the other insecure person, that would really trigger them, in a way. And not being a hijackal, just reacting out of something you don't know even emotionally exists for you, because you've never even thought about it. You've just been this way your whole life, and it was kind of, like how it was established when you were a baby.
Yeah, and for those who haven't heard my term hijackal, we're talking about the relentlessly difficult person who scavenges a relationship for power, status, and control. So they're quite happy to be in the driver's seat. I can reject you, I can love you, I can pull you closer, I can push you away. You're just lucky to have me. But the insecure attachment, I was thinking about this because I had a conversation with someone whose new partner was going to a high school reunion. And these are people in their 50s. And the person said to me, well, he didn't invite me to his high school reunion. And I said, good. And she said, well, no, what if he goes? What if he meets some old flame? What if he does this? What if he does that? Whoa, insecure attachment. You do not believe that this man can go and connect with humans with whom he had an experience that you did not have. And he doesn't want to subject you or himself to having to introduce you to all these people that you will never see again and have no history with, and take up the time that he would do reminiscing to take care of you. Hey, this is good. Don't go. You should, that's a good idea. And she was horrified. Like, how can he go without me? What if he meets somebody? What if he meets old friends and and he's happy there and he doesn't want me any? I mean, it went really deep. And that's the sad part about insecure attachment, because she was all worried that he was going to meet somebody, and he didn't want her there. And I mean, I don't know about you, Laura, but having to introduce somebody at a high school reunion and keep them up to date in the conversation and try to keep them included when you really want them to just go away so you can talk about old times.
Well,
is
I recently, or not, a couple, 3 years ago, went to a reunion without my spouse, um, for a number of reasons. And then there were people there with their spouse, and I just saw the spouses sitting there. I tried to engage them, but it did take away from the connection. It added something and it took away something. So
that's
for
right.
me, I felt very free to go where I wanted to, talk to who I wanted to talk. And I didn't have that extra responsibility of making sure, like you said, my partner was taken care of, and which I obviously would have done. And could have worked out okay. But I did see some spouses just kind of feeling a little uncomfortable, not knowing what to do, especially when their alum spouse was engaged, and they were just kind of curious. As long as they were curious, they were fine. But again, it really does require a secure attachment, even if you're there present. Like you have to give them space, and you have to go do your thing and meet people on your own, type of thing,
Yeah.
perhaps, or go plan your own activity outside of the alum dinner, unless you want to just be sitting there kind of listening.
Yeah. Well, and it led me to think if I were ever going to plan a reunion, which I would not, that wouldn't it be a good idea to have a spouse's dinner and then a student's um, time afterwards, so that you'd have the time to take your spouse back to the hotel. You would go back, you would do all of that. The spouse would have had part of it, do something different, or a spouse's room where like we're all bored and we don't know each other, you know,
We'll all go
but
on
back,
a river cruise or a harbor cruise.
exactly. But back to attachment, if you have to be with them and know where they are and all of that, you're in anxious attachment. And that's too much energy. Oh my goodness, just talking about it makes me feel
Right.
if you have to think about that all the time, please get some help. Do your work. You need your energy for living, and that's just living in fear, and that's not a good use of energy.
So insecure attachments is based in fear of, am I enough? Am I worthy? Am I going to get my needs met? And
Well,
it's
the insecure attachment of the anxious is met in that way. The other side of it, the avoidant, is I've already decided that I'm better off without you. I can't trust you. I don't want you. I am not going to be part of this because I will get hurt. I'm I don't like people, and that will cause you to get into a situation where you don't ask for help, where you have that idea like you don't ask people for help, you don't you make things happen on your own, which can be a real blessing. But on the other hand, you have the opportunity to examine it and say, why don't I ask for help? Well, nobody will help me anyway. They can't do it as well as I do, so it's just ridiculous. And that's kind of a hallmark of avoidant, right? And so if you meet somebody who's, I'm fine, I can get it done, it's I better I do it myself, I'm self-sufficient, and you start hearing that as an almost a badge of courage, then if you hear yourself saying that, ask yourself, where did I learn that I don't deserve to be in community? I don't have the ebb and flow with other people. I don't feel safe to be vulnerable. What happened that I am feeling like I have to be an isolate, but an isolate who is perfectly competent and capable, so I don't need you.
Yeah, I find that, I don't know if it's the insecure attachment of the avoidant, but I find a lot of women saying I have a hard time asking for help. Am I collapsing something here, or is that potentially a clue that there is an avoidant insecure attachment there?
Well, I think there's an insecure attachment. It's not necessarily avoidant. It can be that I'm so fearful of rejection that I won't ask in case you say no.
Hmm.
If you've been raised by parents who really did not give you their focus, who didn't give you what you needed emotionally, then you're afraid that somebody will say no, so you don't ask. Because the pain of being rejected, or even the fear of thinking you might be rejected, is not worth the ask.
I'm almost thinking of the play Oliver. More, please, sir. Can I have some more? More? You
Exactly.
want more? No.
Yeah, well, how many people have been made wrong for asking for what they want? Many. Because how dare you? My generation was raised in a, who do you think you are asking for what you want? That's conceited. That's,
Titled.
it's not equality. It was never seen as equality.
you're entitled. You think you're entitled.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, who do you think you are to ask for what you need and want? And that's a big one for all of us to overcome. And it really, in my opinion, Laura, it's in the how you ask that makes all the difference. That you ask is wonderful because you give a person the opportunity to show up. But how you ask, if you're an anxious attachment, you're going to make it like you must because you've got to take care of me. And if you're an avoidant attachment, you're afraid of rejection. I know you're going to say no, but, right? And so we go deeply into that with some of my clients.
That's amazing. Then, yeah, if you're secure, you're going to be like, may I please have this, right? You'll just ask kindly.
I would love to have it work like this. What do you think? And the person would say, oh, never thought of that. Let me think about it. And then, oh, why? Oh, okay, that seems to make sense. Okay, great, let's do that. You have something that is adult, it is emotionally mature, and nobody is needy and nobody is feeling put upon. We have become securely attached.
And if you're disorganized, insecure, you're demanding, probably.
Well, you're
I just,
both things. You'll go in both directions, like a hijack call. I'm going to get you and say, oh, nobody ever cares what I need. And, it's all right. Just do your own thing. Don't think about me. And the other side of that spectrum will be, you ought to do what I ask because that's what a good partner does. And of course, I can't count on you, can I? Because you're such a mess. Yeah, that spectrum is the disorganized spectrum. One day you're going to get poor me, and the next day you're going to get do what I say.
you could do a whole article on how to identify what attachment you are by the way you ask for what you want.
It's true. It would be a good one.
A whole episode or a whole blog on that because it's telltale. It's so enmeshed with what's going on in the background that you can actually interpret like, this person may feel a little anxious. This person's a little controlling. This person's.
Yeah, and then ask yourself the question, is this just today or usually? And then you start to say, oh, we kind of have a pattern like this. Maybe we should talk about that pattern because it doesn't work for both of us and it doesn't work for the relationship. So here would be a good topic of conversation. Maybe we need to get a little help around that one. We've identified a place that is less than wonderful. Let's fix it. And that's the growth of a healthy relationship. You want to remember it when you're in a couple, it needs to be us against the problem, not us against each other. And so when we discover that we have something that's falling apart or not working as well as we want it to, but then we go and get some help to fix that something. And that's just like your dryer breaking down. You don't throw out the dryer. You get someone to come and make sure the heating element works. A little issue I'm having right now, so it comes to mind. But that's a way of thinking about it. When the roof on your house needs fixing, you don't move to another house. You get it fixed, right? Same thing with your relationship. You have this. Let's see if it's something we could improve upon or fix or change or modify in some way that would work for both of us. And that can apply to your relationship with a parent, relationship with a sibling. All of those things can happen. Yeah, an adult child, particularly, is one of the things that happens a lot in my practice is someone will come and say, I don't know what happened, but my child married a hijackal. What do I do? Right? You didn't even create the hijackal, but your child was love bombed into that, and now you're losing your adult child. And so understanding all those things is important. But attachment style is a big deal. And when you think about it, really being formed at a very young age and being reinforced then by the environment as you grow, then you can understand that if you sit down and actually have a look at it, dissect it, take it to the level of understanding, and then saying, what is my reality now? How are my relationships? Are they anything like what I've been operating from all this time? Right? So that's when you catch up with yourself, when you really realize that actually I'm in a pretty secure relationship, but I'm behaving from old insecurities.
And or my partner is as well.
Exactly.
So
And
are
we
we
can,
operating from old insecurities, and can we work through this?
exactly. Yeah. And we can, in most cases, if we're willing to talk about it, because we've put the problem not between us, but it's us against the problem. We see it and we want it to change. So we get to work and see how we can do that.
I
And
like that paradigm of it's not us against each other, it's us, working through a problem, working on a problem.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
To a
helpful.
solution. Yeah. That's awesome. And that's what you do when you bring in a professional.
That's right, because a professional can ask all the right questions and they can see how you are now. You've got your whole history in your head, but they can see the patterns and they can see who you are and how you are in space and how you're interacting with other humans. And they can see that and ask you the right questions to see if you are where you want to be and if you'd like to change, how to. And then, it's just like getting the heating element on the dryer fixed. Okay, now the dryer works better. Yay.
So let's talk about getting that help in a relationship. There's a dynamic there. Say there is that secure, attached person who's now having challenges, and now, oh, this person that I'm with might be insecurely attached, or maybe they're insecure. And how do we even broach the conversation to say, I think we need to work on this?
Well, usually it's discomfort and fear and anxiety that's happening. Now, if you're with a hijackal, you're going to have those three things, and that's a different thing to learn about. But if you're in a potentially healthy relationship that could become healthier, you can just simply say, I really love you, and I would like our relationship to be absolutely as rich as it could possibly can be. And I think one of the things is that I or you or whatever, we need reassurance all the time. And I don't know how to fix that. Do you? you know, so maybe we could go and get some help. And start having those conversations with your partner that, do you think this is happening? Because I kind of feel it is. And what do you think's causing it? And when you can do that, I call that putting the problem on the TV. Instead of putting the problem between you, as I was saying earlier, it's saying, okay, we have a problem. There it is. It's on the wall there. Do you see that way? I see it that way. Okay, do you think it's working? No, I don't think it's working. What do you think we could do about it? And then if you two can't talk it out, get some help. Because that's what you do. You take care of the things you have. You don't buy something and not buy the cleaner to go with it. You understand that something doesn't last forever unless you take care of it.
And this is how we take care of and keep them in the best shape and keep improving them and improving ourselves, is to put it on the TV.
Exactly.
Get a professional TV. That
Yeah,
gives feedback.
get the person on the TV to talk to you.
Interactive.
Yeah, exactly. And strong people do that. Strong people get help. They say, I deserve that kind of help. I deserve the best life I could have. I deserve the healthiest relationship. Oh, there's some help. Let me get that help. But people who don't believe that they deserve any of that, they're less likely to get help because they've already prejudged themselves. And if somebody hears that right now, know that you deserve to have an understanding of how to show up in the healthiest way possible for yourself. And that will be then in your relationship. And you have the greatest chance of having a life where you feel safe and secure and seen and heard and acknowledged and accepted and appreciated.
And that sounds awesome. And why not? You
Yeah.
know, we're here, we have this life, make the most of it. So be strong or be willing to be vulnerable. It takes courage and strength to be vulnerable. And in a safe place with a professional, interactive TV.
That's right. But, hopefully these insights into attachment style and attachment theory can set you thinking about, oh, how was my beginnings and how much of my beginnings am I bringing into my current reality? And is that healthy? And maybe that's a moment to learn something more or go a little more deeply into that thought process because you deserve to.
Yeah, why not? You know, why not? I learn something from you all the time. And it's incredible to think about. Now I have a whole new lens to look at people through, and look at reactions and how my relationships are with others. Are we getting into a pattern of attachment? Am I, uh, where's my securities and insecurities lie? When am I reacting out of fear? So, am I more attached or, more insecurely or securely attached? So, is there
Right.
gradients, do you think, to this, or is it like black?
There can be. There can be. Things can go along quite well for a while, and then just like plucking a string on a piano, all the other strings of your life will vibrate. So some event happens, and you go, "Oh, that maybe they don't love me anymore." And every insecurity you ever had gets plucked. But maybe for 6 months, you were perfectly happy and you were secure, you felt fine. When then something got touched, well, that's just a moment to say, oh, that's probably past stuff. Let me think about that, right? Because we do smuggle our parents' insecurities into our emotional baggage. So we want to notice that that's the case. And it's not about being right or wrong or good or bad. It's just saying, here's where I am. Here's where I'd like to learn more or be more or do more or have more. What do I need to do that? And, it's not about that. On Facebook.com/hijackals, I put a lot of memes up. And one of the ones that really has gotten a lot of notice is this: you don't have to make someone wrong to know they're not right for you. And when you realize that, okay, I'm spending a lot of energy making my partner wrong, maybe I should be start thinking about, am I in the right place? What am I doing? How am I contributing to this so that I'm not spending all the time making my partner wrong? I am learning something. I'm taking a couple steps back and saying, what is my contribution to this? And does it have the raw ingredients to get healthier and better? And that's again another point of that's the moment for help.
It's quite an art to take that stance of, I don't have to make them wrong to know what's right for me. And it's almost like, I have a background in customer service and selling, and it's almost like that old adage, the customer's always right, even if they're wrong, right? So it's like you treat them like they're right, and you let them know what the protocol is for your business, and the one in control is the one who can walk away. So even when you're the salesperson and or the service provider, and the customer saying, this isn't right, you're wrong, blah blah blah, or they're behaving in a way and they demand this, and you can't give it to them, because as long as you know what what's good for you in your business and or in your relationship or your personal um, being, then you stand with them and say, I get that. And maybe I shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Maybe you shouldn't be a customer of ours, and you don't like say it that bluntly, but in essence you are. And there's a graceful way to do that, and a way to keep your center, not make them wrong, and take care of yourself.
Yeah, don't do it like Panda Express. There's a good example. You go on Panda
Understand.
Express and you look at the menu and you say gluten-free. And basically they say, don't bother coming here if you're gluten-free. Like, we don't care. We are not adjusting our menu. There is nothing we will guarantee that you can eat in our entire place. Okay, it's very direct, but they know exactly who their market is and who it isn't.
Right.
Right? And it's good to know, but the way they express it on the website is, oh, well, that's very direct, and I appreciate that. But on the other hand, you're willing to let all those people who have gluten intolerances not even be able to accompany a friend and eat there? That's thoughtless, right? So you start looking at the relationship aspects of that. We could go into that deeply, but I think we've covered
That's another
attachment
show, another
style.
show.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very insightful on the attachment styles, the insecure and the secure, and how to identify it in yourself and others, and the questions to ask. So if you're just joining us now, be sure to watch the whole episode. And in the meantime, you can always visit us on our websites at transformtoday.com and for relationship help. And Rhoberta, do you want to talk about your community?
Yes, certainly. If you want to learn more about whether you're with a person who is a hijackal, or you were raised by one, or someone who's come into your life is one, come on over to the Emerging Empowered Community. You just simply go to joinintoday.com. And one of the perks of membership is that you get 3 group calls with me a month where you can ask your questions. And that's valuable.
That's highly valuable. So joinintoday.com, and we will see you for another episode of Transform Your Relationships. Thanks so much, Rhoberta.
Thank you, Laura.
Doesn't want us to end. An error card. Wait a moment and then try again. It's too attached to us.
Yes, it's securely attached to
It's
us in
very
the worst
securely
way.
attached. But I do have another way if it doesn't, we're still alive. It's not okay. So let me go